Leighton PC, and he was a fantastic volunteer and a leader of men. And you'll find that the club is in the position today straight out from our volunteers, and that starts right from the person in the canteen to the general sailing committee and the general committee, because they all do it for nothing. They do it for the love of the sport. So you can't help but love the club when you've got people like that.
Muriel's husband and Jenny's dad and Arthur, who's deceased, and Lindsay's dad, he was really the backbone of the sailing club. There's no doubt about that. He really volunteered, ran the sailing boat and transported kids in a shoebox trailer full of sabots off to championships and took them off everywhere. So the Dagans were this, really the backbone of the club at that stage. So they were excellent. But
it's a little bit overwhelming when you do something that you love, and I think I've been trying to give back the joy that was, presented to me, or the acknowledgement that the club has done. I find that quite overwhelming. I find it very difficult to talk about. But, that the spirit of this club and the camaraderie and the support that everybody gives one another and the acknowledgement, I think, is very fundamental. It's what makes us very strong.
I know you enjoy coming down every Sunday and keeping in contact with all the sailing members and watching the kids.
Yeah. Yes, I do, and over the years you gain so much knowledge, and as you're getting older, you realise that there's going to come an end to it, and it's a pity to take all that knowledge away. It needs to be given to younger people to help them if possible.
To get the kids out through the break, a few of the men would.
Yeah, we'd lift the whole sabo up and take him out and throw him over the waves.
And likewise, when they were coming in, you had to catch the ones with fixed rudders.
Yeah.
We had a huge volunteer base, and they were just all wonderful. Yeah, we never had trouble finding volunteers for any job that needed to be done. They would just come out of the woodwork. They were great.
Excellent.
Yeah, they've been really good. There's always, like with certain weather, you can go talk to them about it and they'll tell you what they've done and experiences. Carol's been coaching me since the very beginning, and she's been really great. Yeah.
Bingo was pretty important. That's what brought the sailing club from where it was down the road there in the old clubhouse up to here, and I think there was some people who foresaw the bingo happening in Queensland, making it legal. It was way before poker machines were made legal, and that was a way to make money. And the bingo is what we have to thank for where we are today.
It was Jim Glover did that.
Jim Glover did that.
You saw that?
He was the CEO for Rocket City.
We used to, that was our Saturday night, that's what we used to do on a Saturday night. We wouldn't go out to the disco, well, what were they those days? Cabarets. You go and sell bingo tickets at Scotia Place in Rockhampton on a Saturday night. Yeah, so and there was Wednesday night down here.
Yeah, so we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that bingo, and it wasn't for the foresight of some of our members back in those days to get on that bingo bandwagon or train or whatever you would like to call it. Because I can remember selling tickets at Scotia Place as well, and I only got caught up in that. I used to take my mum down there to play bingo, and I thought, well, I'll pop into the Crown Hotel next door. But anyway, I stayed at the bingo, and they said, here's some tickets, sell them. And Adrian Brown was there, Gordon Nielsen used to be there, used to be heaps of club members there selling tickets.
Neil Dwyer.
Neil Dwyer.
Yeah,
oh,
big time.
All those
Neil Dwyer took it on to basically to where it was today.
Selling those bingo tickets, and every bingo ticket we sold, that was money for this club.
One of the most rewarding and highlighting times was when we reopened 3 buildings after the cyclone, and it built a lot of camaraderie and team. We all worked as a team to get the venues back and running. Those first couple of days after the cyclone, it was pretty devastating times, but it was great to see all the staff just pull together, and even though there was some uncertainty around where we were going to end up, they all worked together and showed up every day and put in 110% effort to make sure that we got up and operational again.
I enjoyed every single class that I ever undertook to teach, and the beauty is the sharing of their learning. And as I used to say to the kids and their parents at every class at the end, thank you for letting me share, because I think that's important. And I guess the thrill of watching those people, young people particularly, go from nothing to be able to sail is a great thrill, and that happened every time with every class.
Instructors like Gordon Nielsen, Keith Stover, Ian Renton,
Brian Lloyd,
and Brian Lloyd, and a lot of people, and you know, they didn't have kids learning to sail at that stage, so it was a great thing that they went to the trouble of giving up their time to come down and teach us how to sail.
Well, life members, you know, most of the scenario with the life members is about volunteering for the sport, and they've obviously got a passion for the sport, but they've also got this need to, you know, give it their time, their precious time, you know, to help people like me out. There's a couple of volunteers in the club that really inspired me, not just in sailing, but, you know, as being a better person, I guess.
I'd like to probably also congratulate all the boards that have and committees that have served over the last 60 years, because without your vision and foresight, the club wouldn't be where it is today. It's because of your vision and foresight that myself and another 120 staff have all got a job today, and we can support the community in the way that we do and give back to the community that supports us. And as at the same time continue the passion of why the club was started 60 years ago.
Well, the Sharpies probably not really involved in starting the Friday Night Ruck, which was fundraising for junior sailing. So, and over the periods we bought 2 junior boats and a bus even at one stage. So yeah, that's probably and that's you know, the whole club supported it, you know.
Oh, the volunteers run this club, I think. If it wasn't for the amount of volunteers we do have, a lot of the sport of sailing wouldn't happen, and without that sport of sailing, this club, I think, wouldn't have a purpose. So yeah, they actually help that sailing keep going, and that way it helps the club keep going, pushes the club along.
Yeah, it's great to be able to contribute to the community and get out on the water and help organise things. Great opportunity to see the kids out there and also adults out there having a great time on the fantastic waters we have here at Keppel Bay.
So last year I raised money for the RACQ Capricorn Helicopter Rescue Service. We raised $16,500. That went towards them, and Yeppoon Lions as well.
Oh, that's correct. It's I really enjoy the camping sheds, especially seeing it grow over the last 8 years. This stick around, it's just fantastic, and the efforts from the volunteers. It's very humbling to see the amount they put in work.
Well, there's been a few funny stories. There's been a whole bar full of naked blokes won state titles. But we won't go there. The girls behind the bar were quite good and just kept serving. Just turned their heads and just keep serving. It was unbelievable. Another time was, I think the manager was Jimmy Duncan. He said that we got 10 boats in the water, he'd buy us a few beers, and we got 10 Sharpies in the water, so it was pretty highlight, I suppose, because, you know, yeah, we were trying to build a fleet up.
That catamaran too, we were here one day sailing. Well, we were sitting up there having a beer, and we went, just over here. Anyway, one of the guys who ran the boat there, he had a couple of these young chicks on. Anyway, we could see this boat getting narrower and narrower. And what we didn't know at the time is it broke its beam. And it just folded up and sunk. But yeah, it was a bit of something different.
And that was in its very minor stage. We were in this building, in the clubhouse building, but yeah, we were very small. Bar was trading limited hours, but you know, didn't have a restaurant. But on a Thursday night, there was always quite a gathering used to happen in those days where the local pizza guy, I'm trying to think of his name as I'm saying that, Michael, we used to be able to ring him up at 8 o'clock at night. He'd be just shutting his door and we'd look around the bar and say, well, there's, oh yeah, there's 10 of us here, we'll have 5 pizzas, and he'd come down with 5 pizzas and we'd sit in the bar then for another hour and a half, which was probably a good thing for the club. I don't think Michael's wife Jan used to get a bit upset because she used to have to shut the place up and then come down here and drag him out of the bar, but anyhow, they were good times. Yeah.
I just always remember as I got older, Mum would send me in rather than trying to drag Dad out of the sailing club. So I would have to go in and nag him to come out all the time, every Friday night.
It was always fun because, you know, with your team, it was sort of like you were a team, you weren't competing against each other. So it was nice to be there with all the rest of the teams. I remember down in Malula Bar that we thought, oh, well, let's sneak out. All the coaches are asleep. Down we go, and the fence, so all the boys just up and jump over the fence they get. Meanwhile, here I am trying to climb over the fence, and it has the star pickets on the top. Next minute, hanging off the fence, my jersey, the actual jersey we had to wear for the whole weekend, is ripped. I've got the boys trying to lift me off the fence. I've got everyone up on the veranda whistling.
We used to have an old tractor, and those cement buffers down there were put there after the tractor went out of gear and went over a rock wall. There was a hell of a way of running your tractor out.
So do you want to tell me a story about the early days of some of the things you used to get up to?
Sorry, we can't.
Can't? Top secret?
I have my first ever memory of sailing with the sailing club. It was probably about 20 knots, and this was when Claire was the head instructor here, and it was 20 knots, and me and my younger brother went out, so I was 12, he was probably like 9, and we went out on a caper cat with some other young instructors at the time, and we capsized, and I remember getting stuck underneath the sail and being absolutely petrified. But it didn't deter us at all. We both absolutely loved it and kept on going.
Mate over here on the right, Brian Corbett.
Hi,
you don't
Brian.
know that he's getting his photos taken here now. They laugh at, we tell a few funny stories, and mainly about his haircuts and that type of thing, and I've got plenty about my haircut as well. But no, we get a lot of laughs here, Kathy.
Bill, why do they call it a table of knowledge, and where did that come about?
I don't know how it really came about, but if we haven't got a good story, we make one up, so that's good enough to be the table of knowledge, isn't it?
Fair enough.
I work in sailing, but the only sailing experience I had was when Claire and Taryn dragged me into this Twilight series that was over 4 weeks or something. And I'm getting sweaty palms thinking about it. It's terrible. But they dragged me in. It was Twilight sailing, so it was at night, just only lit by moonlight.
I didn't realise how bashed around I would get, especially with those two girls because they are crazy sailors.
Claire was a bit crazy.
So that was they had to have a novice sailor, so I was it. And
You were the
shit out of me.
champion.
But still getting involved in sailing, it's awesome.
That's really funny.
No, it's great. I'm getting goosebumps after that story. But it was really fun, and we ended up winning, so that was awesome too.
I've got to tell you one Sharpie title. PC was in charge of the PA for the tournament. We're down in the bilge bar downstairs, and the boys are starting to, as Sharpie sailors do, start to drop their pants. Starting to play up. This is only pretty early at night, it's only about 9 o'clock. PC's come downstairs and just wrapped it up as these blokes are bloody start growing up and start carrying on, get your clothes back on, stop rucking around, stop drinking rum like it's going out of fashion. So we thought, oh, PC's a bit serious here. So we've actually got PC on the run with a half an hour. PC had his clothes off as well. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
There's lots of funny stories. I mean, you know, drowning the boats, going out without our bungs, sailing along, helming, and a big wave washing me off the back and thinking, oh my lord, and the boat sailed off without me, and it was very rough like this, and thinking, I've got to get to a buoy, and swimming like mad. I'm not a great swimmer. And the boys noticed I was gone. They did a wonderful turnaround, came up to the buoy, grabbed me and threw me back into the seat, and off we went.
As a lot of people know, my father is a keen sailor, so he got me into the sport. And the first experience that I can remember was doing a TLC level 1, which is the equivalent, I guess, to Attackers 1 course. And there was myself, Butto's son, William Buttonshaw, and Jody Lawrence in a Sabo. And I remember, I think we were going to do a capsize drill, and I completely freaked out and was screaming my guts out, and Butto's son was cool, Will was cool with it.
Alan Bradshaw, my old mate, we bought a dinghy off a doctor in Rocky that had no buoyancy in it. So we used to go sailing down at Keppel Sands or off the beach there, and we turned it over one day and sunk it up to the gunnels. And there's about 100 jellyfish in the boat with us. And luckily, Alan's brother-in-law was an ambulance boy, and he had his kit with us, so he plastered all the stuff all over us to take the sting out of us.
The first Corsair Nationals, we were leading, and oh no, I think we were leading, and then somebody, no, we were probably just trailing, and somebody with a Scarlet Runner, you know, luffed us up and forced us, you know, we ended up being in the wrong, you know, protesting, and we had, in those days, you could exonerate yourself by doing a 720, which we did with the spinnaker up, just kept it up and did a 720, and as people said, they'd never seen us, you know, I think everybody claimed they'd never seen a 720 done with the boat still carrying a spinnaker, you know, so, and we still went on to win the race and win the series, you know, in that instance, you know, it was a national title there.
Oh, cool.
But,
back in the earlier days when I was still a novice sailing a Corsair, and I'd been hit by the boom, not ducking my head enough, and the two that were with me kept on saying, was I all right? And I felt fine. And when I came back and took my cap off, I had the blood, hair was all matted with blood, and I had to go across the road to where the hospital was then and get 5 staples. So I was late for there was a general meeting that day.
So your advice is don't forget to
You've
duck?
got to watch the boom. That's why it's called boom.
There's multiple, I guess, stories.
or fun experiences. The family involvement. My cousins also got involved sailing here from Rocky, and Jenna and I borrowed Bob Pearson's Gwen 12 when we were early young teenagers, and we did the Farnborough Marathon, and we thought we would go pretty well. This is a nice exciting boat, and halfway back we were rather low in the water, and I'm going to blame Jenna and say that she forgot to put the bung in, so we went all the way to Farnborough and back without the bung, which I guess it was a bit embarrassing but also a bit funny when we thought we were pretty good.
Yeah, I first got involved with the club. Well, my first experience with the club, well, I wasn't involved, I was a spectator, and we were around the Bluff when the boats first sailed from around there, and Mum and Dad took us down there, and we watched the boats sailing off of the beach down there, and the boats were all made out of wood in those days, and they were made out of plywood or wood or whatever, but they were all varnished like a piece of furniture, and you could see the reflections of the boats in the water, and it looked like a fantastic thing to do, and that's where we got involved with the club. My oldest brother Arthur, because I was only a kid, I suppose we're all kids then.
I wasn't around then.
You weren't a kid, you weren't even around then, that's right, yeah. But I was only a kid, and my oldest brother Arthur, his first experience with the club, he went sailing on a Gwen 12 called Gurry Gurry, and must have been because we hung around down there, and he got chosen as a crew because they didn't have enough people to be crew, and they went out for the day, and apparently the story goes, I remember the result of the story, but I wasn't on the boat, but they did really well on the first part of the race. They going out to sea into the wind, they were right up there with the leaders, and then across the top of the course, well, they started to slow down a bit, and the other boats caught up to them, went past them, and then coming in towards the beach, they were right at the back of the fleet, and they couldn't understand what had happened. But anyway, as they got closer to the shore, they realised that they'd forgot to put the bungs in, and the boat was sinking, because boats in those days, they had self-draining cockpits, but they had bungs in the back as well. So anyway, they tried to put the main sheet up the bunghole, and I'm sorry, that's not a rude a rude expression, but that's what they tried to do to stop the water getting in. But eventually they had to get to the beach and beach the boat to get the water out.
There's a lot of fond memories. Probably most of them were in Sharpies. Probably putting the spinnaker pole through Paul Keating's mainsail was probably the highlight. He wasn't happy about it, but I didn't have a problem with it. Made it easier when we jibed.
First Sabo Nationals we went to was in Launceston at Beauty Point, and the members of the club actually hired a Girl Guides hut, which had rooms, kitchens, and we all stayed in that one spot, and we had a fantastic time. It was a really great time. Going to Gladstone, we used to all stay at the same caravan park, and there were big barbecues at night. What went on at night was all as exciting as what went on during the day.
It would have been at Redcliffe. We were sailing sailboats. Rush was the skipper and I was the crew. Whenever we capsized, I always wondered why when he bailed out, he threw it on top of me. And it was pointed out from my daughter, who was a very good sailor, told me that I was probably an annoying sister and a ship crew. But the big thing about it was we made the front page of the newspapers in that area.
But in the early days there, Brown, Adrian Brown, he'd put the pickup boats in with his own car, and I remember one day, him and I were on boat duty, and I was on one boat and he was on the other boat crew, and Adrian had this thing of setting the course up and then anchoring it all away, and then once the race got started, he can have a little nap. Anyway, I was just sitting there keeping an eye on the safety of it, and next minute I get this on the two-way. Hey Dexter, yeah, we're sinking, can you come and get us? I said, yeah, right, we're going to leave. Rescue boats don't sink. And it was quite a flat day. And what had happened, for some reason or other, the hull had split. And he actually was sinking, so they're going to rescue him. That was a hell of a way to get another boat too. But,
And did you spend any time on the boat with Dad?
Yeah, we did, but we spent a lot of the time dragging him out of the pub.
There are funny moments every day, let's put it that way. When you're dealing with people, it's a very interesting and well-rewarding job, I think.
Yeah, I think years ago with the Sharpie sales, there was a lot of funny things that happened, and there were amazing things that happened with Sharpie sales that were really enjoying themselves. Being rung up by a security lady to come down to the club at 3 o'clock in the morning because she's found someone asleep in one of the toilets, which wasn't too bad except for the fact that it was a female security person and the sailor happened to be naked. So it all becomes serious at the time, but when you think about it, it's really funny that you can actually have these things happen.
And so Butto's the only one you want to dob in?
well, he's all right. He's got a mental problem.
T-boning an arrow.
T-boning an arrow?
Yes.
Oh.
It was ugly.
It was ugly? Which boat came off best?
The arrow went down below water level.
Gee.
So Corsairs are known to be fairly strong and resilient because they were designed by a Navy architect.
There you
So
go.
the arrow didn't survive, but...
Did he return to sailing after that event?
He did. He forgave me, yes.
And the nickname you gained from that experience, Nanette?
Was Captain Crunch.
Oh, that's
Definitely.
wonderful.
Going to regattas and competing whether you lose or not.
That's good. And so tell me about the regattas you've been to.
I've been to the Camping Champs, which has been held here, the Bowen Regatta and Nationals. Camping Champs was pretty fun. My best race, I got a 10th place. At Bowen, I had a few difficulties because of the different sailing conditions, but I got the hang of it after a while. And at Nationals, I got a place of 30th, and it was really hard because sometimes the wind was blowing really hard and sometimes it wasn't, so it was a really shifty wind.
Well, it started with my dad. He used to sail when he was younger with my granddad, so he really wanted us to get into it and get back into it because he'd stopped for a while. So me and my two brothers did the start sailing course. It was really good.
Because you get to go fast and you get to be out in the water, and it's nice to go smoothly across the waves.
Yeah.
Is it a good sport for girls?
Yeah, it's really good. It's one of the only ones I find that isn't really biased, and you can go really far with it even if you are a girl. It's really fun.
How do you go on the water against the boys?
Pretty good. I tend to smash them.
Excellent.
Well, everyone's nice and you get to sail.
Cool.
Sailing's fun.
It is, isn't it?
It's fun. You can make friends. Lots of people do it, and it can turn into a career, so you could go to the Olympics.
Yeah, I get to teach the new Tackers kids and introduce them to sailing, which is really good. I get to sort of meet them and start them off on their journey, and it's really good watching them grow. And then I get to train them throughout Greenfleet as they start getting more competitive, and it's really good.
Excellent. And so do you want to make it to the Olympics one day?
Yep. Who wouldn't?
What sort of boat do you want to sail?
Maybe a 29er at the Olympics.
Mostly just how the kids see things, like when we're trying to teach them a course and it's meant to be a triangle and they go, oh, it looks like a dinosaur course, and things like that. It just really makes my day to see how much they enjoy it.
Happy 60th anniversary Keppel Bay Sailing Club.
Happy 60th anniversary Keppel Bay Sailing Club.
Happy 60th anniversary Keppel Bay Sailing Club.
It's just a really fun sport. You can go competitive if you want to, or you can just sail socially doing racing in the afternoons. And it's a real confidence booster having to sail a boat by yourself. Yeah.
That it's a fun sport and you should do it. And once I told them that and they went home and asked their parents. Some of them, I'm pretty sure, got into it for a little bit but then they stopped.
I think the best bit is you get to test your limits every time and just see how far you really can go, and you get to push yourself over that line every time you go out there and just see what you can really accomplish.
When I took over in 1990, it was only running a few days a week. I think I had probably about 6 or 7 staff, and then in '92 poker machines became available. The club had eased up on its bingo at that stage. It was only running a couple of bingos down here, so the decision was made that we should enter the gaming machine business, and from '92 that went on. That was a big process of increased the amount of income that was done, the amount that we could actually give back to the sailors and give back into facilities for the sailors has been, well, that's still here, so you can still see what we've done in facilities. They still need repairing, they still need work done on them, we still need more boats. That is just an ongoing thing with the sport, but it's a big thing. I suppose gaming machines was a big thing. It increased our complete community thing. We then, I think, I'm not sure dates, but we bought across the road. Our motel was over there, which was a bit of a nuisance to me. I was actually living out of town, so I used to stay at the motel when I came in to do regattas or to the big nights on. So I could just walk across the road to get myself into bed, and you know, when it finished at 1 o'clock in the morning, I was right, I didn't have far to go, but then we bought it and had to knock it down. So it was around about that time I actually shifted myself and the family into town and moved over to Baglow Avenue and lived a bit closer. I was still in a position where I could still walk home. So that was a good thing that happened. Yeah.
Yes, definitely third generation. Started in the Stickley family with Grandma and Pop, and Glenn and Cam and Relly have been sailing too, and then it came down to us. Yeah. Oh, and Mum was sailing too.
Butto and I, he used to sail sharpies, and we used to sail catamarans. And there's a little bit of a rival there because we called his boat the canoes and we were the rafts. And to this very day, we always thought that they set up the course to suit the rafts more than the catamarans.
I've only been here at the club a short time, since late 2013. It's been some great experiences while I've been here. I've seen the development of the TACAS program and seeing a lot of kids come through the TACAS program and starting to enjoy the sport of sailing. It's been a pleasure to get to know a lot of the life members and founding members throughout that time, and listen to their passion and reason why they started Keppel Bay Sailing Club 60 years ago. Some of them are still as passionate today as the first day they started the club, with people like Keith Stover coming down every time we run a TACAS program to show the kids how to tie knots and to give them advice, and also being here every Sunday, him and Gordon Nielsen here every Sunday while everyone's out on the water, and talk to the youth and the kids and catch up with old mates, and have a story or two at the same time.
So, sometimes on a May regatta they'd have a dance, and I can remember one dance where people were dancing and having a really good time, and the floor in the sailing club would have been going up and down that much. You could see it going up and down that much, which seems like a lot, but it was all built in sand and stuff. But yeah, it was pretty wild.
They used to have skits. They used to get up and do skits and things. That was back in Ian Reeton's day. He used to get them organised and do those sort of things on May regattas. And May regattas were a lot of fun because you had sailors coming from away, people that you'd met when you went away on sailing competitions, and they come to your club. So it was really good to have all these other kids turn up and catch up with them again. And the bay was full of people on the May Day regatta. It was a huge regatta.
Oh, excellent.
It was great catch up with everybody.
Yeah, Josh and I, we were lucky. We had good fun sailing, so we spent a lot of time here and a lot of time practicing and training, and became relatively good at it. So yeah, it was lots of fun. I think our favourite events were the Dash for Cash, where we could win a bit of money to spend back on buying the new mainsail or new life jacket that we needed. And the club was really, we were really lucky that the club was in a position to support, the sailors like that. It helped a lot.
Some of the most rewarding times would be seeing our school-based trainees finish their training and still with us today and making a career out of hospitality. And some of the outstanding highlights, I guess, would be winning Sports Club of the Year for Queensland last year, and also the Regional Training Awards. We picked up the the award for the training organisation in Central Queensland, and then went on to the state finals. And then also picking up 2 awards at the Capricorn Awards, one for training and one for community service, and then the Australia Day Awards. They're all dedicated, I guess, to our volunteers, our committees, our boards, and the staff for all that they've done over the last couple of years since the cyclone. So congratulations, everyone.
We joined the Keppel Bay Sailing Club when it was still in the old building, which was referred to as the skating building. It was on the beachfront, and they did have a ramp to get down to the beach. We had a lightweight Sharpie, one of the few Sharpies in the area, and it was excellent as an early sailing boat. Eventually the Sharpie was sold to somebody from the club. It was painted orange, called Clockwork Orange, and I understand ceremoniously burnt at some later stage.
Joey Newton was certainly excellent, but we've had some very good sailors here, and I think, I probably learnt a lot from when I had a laser from about 74 to about 77 or so. There was an Ian McCrossan. His nickname was Fred. He was a doctor working in Rocky, and he bought a laser, and I don't know whether he bought one before me, but about the same time he decided to buy one because the competition was moving into that, and I already had one, and I learnt a lot from Fred because he was an excellent sailor and was well skilled from sailing in Sydney.
Brent and Ben Callard were in the last classes of the senior juniors that I was coaching.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Sarah.
Sarah, yep.
Sarah and Jody and the whole heap of them that were all excellent sailors. All made the state team for the Savo Championships and titles, and in their own right were quite good sailors.
Look, sailing at KBSC has provided me so much. It's given me a career. It's allowed me to travel overseas and compete. But most importantly, it was having fun and being a part of a community that was like my second home. I've made lifelong friendships at the club. And it's something that will always be my second home, no matter where I am in the world.
I was a drinker at the Strand, and the Strand switched the music up a bit loud one time, and I asked them if they mind switching it down, and they told me no, they knew that it was a Sunday night and the music's loud, and if I didn't like the music, go somewhere else. So I did.
And you
that
came
was in,
here.
That was in 2003, and I'm still here.
Very good.
All of my good experiences have been here sailing. Lots of time spent here at the club. The beach was a really nice place to hang out as a child. You know, Josh and I sailed 2-up Sabos together for many years. We then split, so then it was a rivalry between us. You know, sailing 2-up Sabos. We then went back together sailing in a 420, which was really good fun because it sort of was the bridge between, you know, the junior fleet and the Sabos, and, you know, the adult fleet with the Sharpies and the skiffs and all of the other, you know, types of boats that were around the place. So sort of, you know, was a transition phase, you know, middle to towards the end of high school into the sort of the adult classes. You know, got to learn a lot from the other sailors that were here and got a lot of opportunities sailing on lots of different types of boats, which was really fun.
Well, we built a Gwen 12. Alan Bradshaw, he was our first secretary. He and I built this Gwen 12. And then Ray Channels and a couple of the boys that sailed down in Sydney, they bought 14-foot boats then so they could beat us.
First off, we were two up in the Sabos when we learnt to sail. Then I think I went, my father had a Heron, we sailed that for a couple of years. And then I went through lasers and tasers. I used to sail a taser with Gary Dexter. And then I sailed the Corsair with David Higgins and Neil Dwyer for a fair few years. Went to several titles, and what else did I go through? At NACWAs, I sailed NACWAs with Brendan Agius, 5.2 and a 5.8 NACWA. And now I'm back to the Arrow, it's a lot easier.
Yes, I joined the committee somewhere about the year 2000, the early 2000s, and stayed on the committee for a number of years, and was on the committee when we took the decision to incorporate with the Bowls Club.
So I always largely skippered, was a skipper of the boat, you know, and I think in the main, but crews, you know, I've had, well, Neil Dwyer certainly sailed with for a quarter of a century, 25 years, you know, from when we first got together when I built a 125, and I enlisted Neil as the crew, and after that we moved, you know, the next year we moved into Corsairs and so on, and then tasers and so back to Corsairs, whatever.
I didn't sail a boat in those days, but I was one of the first people that came along to the Learn to Sail group that was started in 1962, because the sailing club, they wanted to increase the membership,
Get kids involved.
yeah, spread the word about sailing. So you know, because my older brother Arthur, he sailed from a young age. Well,
How long have you been with the sailing club?
As long as I can remember, probably since about 8 years old, I suppose.
Wow.
The mate next to me here taught me how to tie knots. I learned to sail sabos. Sail sabos, and then after that, in those days, the people, we moved with Sharpies. We were invited to Sharpies, you know. I think I was invited to a Sharpie when I was 15 by Eric Burrows and Jeff Dowling, and sailed with Eric for another 20 years.
I started sailing sabos when I was 8 years old, same as Brush, and basically sailed in 2-ups with my brother, and I think at one stage there in the Queensland titles we got second in the state, first time for anyone from KBSC.
Yeah, some good memories of people I've just met in the bar downstairs. Some people I've actually, we went on to become close friends with. Just met them having a drink down there one night, and our friendship sort of stuck together. So it's really good, and a lot of people from in the club, you get to talk to them, find out about the history of the club itself, and that's what I really like about it, find out that early history, because I was never involved with the club back in the early days.
I became a sailing member of the club in the early 80s, but I certainly can recall attending dances in the original building on the beachfront as a teenager. They used to be on Saturday afternoons. They were really big affairs. They were packed out from my recollection. Recall that my oldest brother was quite appalled when he realised that I was actually old enough to attend those dances, and certainly can recall being told I could restrict myself to certain areas of the building and not to come anywhere near him.
Yes, I've been involved with the bingo. I started to be involved when we had it over on the seaside, and then the bingo moved to the Spinnaker bar and had a few changes, but on the whole it has been beneficial for everybody.
We sailed Caper Cat, then we sailed Hydra, and then I went to the Slow Man's boat, Taser.
And how many championships did you take out?
I had the fortune of writing all the honour boards for other people.
So you didn't slip your own name in there?
No. A lot of people paid me a good price to put their name up. So.
Tell us how long you've been involved with the club?
Probably since I was born. Dad's been around for 21 years, I think. Yeah, and I've grown up here most of my life. We've had, Mum and Dad had their wedding there, and then Dad had his 40th, 50th, and I think 60th. Yeah. So I've been around for a while.
Well, to start with, it was I founded a nice family club, and really enjoyed the club just as itself. Somewhere to go, nice and peaceful, and what better view can you get when you're downstairs, either in the bar or dining.
I remember in that time, around 66 it would have been, Keppel Bay was invited to Callide Dam. When they opened Callide Dam up, the local community wanted to start a sailing club in Billawheeler. And we went out there, we took our boats out there and done a sailing, introduced them to sailing out there, done a few demos, sailing amongst all the trees and things.
My grandson Keegan sailability was developed because of him. My daughter saw that I was working here and went down to the staff downstairs and saw Carol Gifford. She said, well, we've actually got an access dinghy here. So they popped him in the boat, and the rest is history for sailability now. So she started it off and got the branch at the Gold Coast to come up, and they donated a couple of boats.
Since about 1974. I started drinking here in 1974 anyhow, put it that way, and involved with sailing. I sailed a lot with CCYC, our sister club, and also mucked around over this way as well, but very much a social person in 1974 through a few years.
My parents were sailing members, and my parents have been at the club for a long time, so as a kid we used to come to the Christmas parties and be around the sailing, and none of us, I think we're all too intimidated or shy to get into it while we're young, but I didn't start till I was about 19 or 20, probably even later now. Sarah coached me over a few months on weekends, and I eventually helped crew a boat over at the CCYC for a few months, and we'd go out racing. Did that for about a year. So if I had more time, I think it's definitely something I'd like to get into a bit more.
Fondest memories are probably the sailing and the knowledge that you could go out sailing and there was a pickup boat there that would pick you up if you had trouble.
Safety.
Yeah, I also operated the pickup boats for probably about 10 years.
Yes, I was selected for the Queensland State team, so I think I was in the all-girls team as well as the girls and boys together. We actually won the states for girls, mixed and the boys, so I remember being presented the overall state trophy.
Got the position of being the secretary manager after returning, having done a few years of cruising. I ended up back in the bar, as I said earlier, enjoying myself when I was approached by the then Commodore Rob Trennett to say why don't I apply for the job as secretary manager, owing to the fact that Jimmy Duncan, who'd been here for a number of years, which I knew quite well, had decided to move on. I got offered a position, did an interview, they gave me a job. I then stayed here for another 19 years after that. I don't think I expected that to happen. I don't think anyone else did either. But that's when the secretary manager came into it. In that time, but I also put my kids through sailing. I travelled from one end of the full end of the east coast, far north as Townsville, Cairns, and then down into Tasmania as well, towing boats around, doing what every other sailing parent does at this club. Bought a number of boats, sold a number of boats, had a boat run over by a boat. I did all that happens to everyone else that gets involved in sailing. So it was an interesting time of 19 years of training kids and having my kids involved in sailing, me travelling, being able to see what other clubs were doing and bringing that sort of knowledge back here and going from there.
And then we got into the old shed, the old skating rink, and we all hopped into that, and Gary, remember that? Well, we
down on low stumps.
Took all the floor up and resheeted inside, didn't we? We got a new roof put on it too, I think, didn't we?
Yeah, it was after one cyclone.
Yeah. That's right, the cyclone did it, didn't it?
So what type of boat did you sail?
I had a Sabo. Sabos, and then I built an Arafura Cat when I was about 15 or 16, about 16 I suppose, 15 maybe. Lindsay and I had the first two Arafuras in the club. Yeah.
Who was your arch rival out on the water?
Lindsay Dagan. Him and I were neck and neck. Then I just sort of faded out of the scene, disappeared. Lindsay and the Dagan kids were right up there. Arthur was a good role model to follow.
And what was the name of your Corsair?
The second one was the Doghouse, the one that we had the most success in. The first one was called Havana 2, the second, because my first sailing boat, a mate talked me into in 1966, mid-66, which was only a Sabo, and it was called Havana 2, TOO rather, and so I just, lack of a better name, I called the Corsair Havana 2 the second, and we won state titles in Edgefield and ran second a couple of times. So.
Started to learn to sail on the river in Rockhampton, and my first time I sailed down here was on a Sabo in a May Regatta one when I was in grade 8, I think it was. Yeah.
That's good memory.
50 years ago.
I first learnt to sail here 20 years ago. When I was 10.
How come you got into sailing?
I got dragged along to a learn to sail class by a good friend, Josh McCall, and have never left.
Yeah, sailing is a great family activity. Everyone can be involved. It's not only the kids who can learn to sail, but so can the adults. So everyone can enjoy being part of on the shore, on the water, helping organise things and being a competitor to the level that we're able to compete at.
They all, in a way, they all inspire me because they come in, some of them very fearful, not a lot of confidence, but one thing that sailing does, it did for me, I learned a lot about who I am. It does it for them as well. They find out that they can actually do these things, face their fears, and actually become, in fact, children that are most nervous become our great sailors, but also our great teachers, because they understand the whole concept. So it's really a concept for life. I always say sailing is a metaphor for life.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I've seen a lot done with kids that were problem, I suppose you call them, problem kids. And I think sailing as a sport has the ability to train and get those kids to think about their own life and what they can do themselves, and gets them out of being in a team or in a gang type arrangement where they actually have to do things for themselves and they have to solve the problems themselves. They can't just jump in a boat and say, well, you know, I can't do this. That doesn't work if you jump in a boat. You've got to learn how to do it, and you can do it.
Patience. I find sailing, if you lose your cool, you lose the race. I think patience is a very big thing, and listening to the older people around you. We've got some tremendous sailors in this place. Right from juniors going through, and they've just done marvellous things through their own lives as well. So I think, to me, and it's something that took me a fair while to do too, is have patience and listen to other people about sailing, because that's where the knowledge is.
That it's a great little sport, and they should all get out there and give it a go, and there's lots of opportunities and lots of pathways they can take from sailing. No, it's a great pastime, great sport.
I think if they really enjoy sailing and they want to make it, you know, more than just an activity that they do on a Sunday, is to apply themselves to it. There's really lots of opportunities to go sailing on different types of boats, and encourage them to participate on lots of different types of boats, travel, experience what other clubs have to offer and what other sailors are doing, and you know, put themselves out there as somebody who wants to become an instructor and slowly get involved in the sport that way.
Just stick to whatever you're doing, practice, keep practicing, and listen to all different people. They tell you all different things. You always learn something from someone, everyone.
Their dreams, and I guess that's the challenge nowadays for people running sports, is, you know, different people got different dreams, and it might just be for getting wet and socialising, and which is great, and that's what the sport can be about, or, you know, being the best in Australia. But my advice is just make sure you have fun along the way, and get on the water as much as you can, and that's where all the fun happens.
It is an enjoyable sport, it is a fun sport, and you can take it to whatever level you wish to do personally.
And if you had one piece of advice to give to our young sailors, what would it be?
Keep sailing.
Keep sailing?
Yes.
And
great.
I think it's not so much even what the children achieve from the sailing, but how well the sailing has equipped those children that went and were sailing with my children for later life, in terms of the majority of them are self-motivated young people. They have achieved in a whole lot of various areas. They seem to excel at what they decide they want to do, and I think that a lot of that is to sailing, where when you go out there, you've got to make decisions, you've got to wear the consequences of those decisions, you've got to be responsible for your boat, your equipment, and I think those are good attributes that set children up for life, not just sailing.
Just keep getting out there and trying, having fun, and enjoy the sailing.
Oh, I don't know. It's a good clean sport. It's a good interactive sport for all ages. You can go out and, you know, you can be very competitive, or just do your personal best. You know, just enjoy the camaraderie. You know, yeah, it's just a great place to be. It's better for kids, I think, the kids to be involved in the sport than hanging around home. They turn out much better people, I believe, if they get down here.
I think it gives them a bit of sort of self-awareness and confidence, a bit of resilience. As sailors, sometimes you've got to make snap decisions, and go with the flow, that sort of thing.
Well, it really is a mind game, and you know, yes, you know, it is important to be, you know, to develop the automatic skills of just routine sailing. But the most important thing is positioning yourself in relation to other boats and the marks, and you know, it's using your intelligence on the physics and the maths of sailing is really where you win or lose. You know, but yes, you've got to develop your speed to be equal or pretty close to equal with the best of the rest. And
I think sailing's a very clean sport. It's a great sport to get into, and it's a sport that you can get a lot of enjoyment out of and a lot of camaraderie with other people that you participate in the sailing with.
There's so many examples that I've seen as a coach, sort of working across Queensland over a number of years now, where a young sailor will come in a little bit, perhaps lacking some self-confidence, lacking a bit of initiative, a bit unsure as to what path to follow, or if they can even participate in the sport. And over the space of a few years, you can see the self-confidence, go through the roof. They become quite an independent person. Many of them do become instructors and take on some leadership roles. And I think all of those skills, outside of the actual sailing skills of tacking and jibing, are really, really valuable for all of our youth. And many of the sailors that we see, they do go on to lead very successful lives.
Participated in the Pinefest last year through the club.
I've been employed by the Keppel Bay Sailing Club for going on 24 years now. I originally worked here before that with Peter Scholes in the bar in the early days, and then went to Keppel Island and come back when Dennis Cook was in charge, and come back and started maintenance.
I grew up in Yeppoon, so being a local, I have very fond memories of the sailing club, the original club. I used to come here every Friday night with my parents in the kids' room downstairs, and my parents had a bit to do with the sailing back then, so I remember the sailing Christmas parties and Santa Claus had come, and yeah, so I actually have a lot of fond memories of the club as a young child.
Well, I first worked at the Information Centre as a traineeship, and then we heard that the Keppel Bay Sailing Club took over the Bowls Club in 2005, I think. And my boss at the time, Mary Carroll, she suggested that maybe I go for a job here, as they may need a few more extra staff on. So Mary contacted Cookie, Dennis Cook, and I got an interview with him. So I was interviewed by Cookie and Jenny Semple at the time, and they said, yeah, come on down for just a bit of a trial run. And 11 years later, I'm still here.
Well, I think I was about 11 or 12 years old, because Mum and Dad bought a yacht, and they'd always been into sailing from really young, and so they decided that me and my brother would do some learn to sail lessons. So we did. We used to finish up school early on a Thursday afternoon to get down to Yeppoon, because we live in Rocky, to come sailing. So we thought that was pretty awesome that we got to finish school early for a number of years throughout the week.
and we continued to learn to sail, and then we went on to get into racing. My parents bought me my own boat when I was probably about 15, I hope he's 16, and I've been doing regattas ever since then. And I think at about the age of 15 I also started as an assistant instructor in the training centre, and since then I've been an assistant instructor, well, an instructor throughout my entire working life, as I've done other jobs. So I've also done the apprenticeship as a sailmaker, and then when I went overseas in 2015 and came back and I had no job, I started full-time with the sailing club as an instructor and sports administrator, and then earlier this year in January I took on the role of sports coordinator, which has been really awesome. I'm really happy in that role. It's a really good place to work, and I get to do what I love all the time, introducing people to sailing and seeing the thrill on their faces when they learn a new skill. It's really good.
Certainly, Jacqueline Watling was a food and beverage supervisor when I started here. One of our longest term food and bev. Butto, obviously, we've worked well together with our famous love-hate relationship at times. Many of the others, Jan Ma, Dan Ma, he started at the same time I started here. I'm just trying to think of anybody I may have missed. There's not too many. Peter Dixon is another one.
Some of the fond memories are, I guess, when we were renovating the last time, where we were operating out of our brand new kitchen here. The only service area was the deck, and I remember counting the steps to deliver a meal was 52, I think, and so when you had to deliver twice to a table, you did 200 steps.
Wow.
Yes, that's one good thing about the Crackers, where they can all sit around the bar and enjoy themselves. Every Saturday afternoon we have a fun ticket, where you get a ticket for every drink you buy, and then every half hour Alicia does a lucky draw, and you can win different prizes. Some are silly prizes, some are good prizes, and that's a lot of fun of a Saturday afternoon. We get a lot of people in for that one.
When we first moved to Yeppoon, I come from a hotel background. We moved into some units across the road, and we came down for a drink after we unpacked our last box, and I said, I want to work here, so the rest is history. I remember seeing young Dan Ma behind the bar there, and he was the one, I think, that gave me the application form.
About 14 years now, since I was roughly year 12, started pouring a few beers to earn a bit of drinking money back when I was hitting that age, 17, 18, trying to sneak into pubs. So a little while now.
And what roles have you had over the years?
So over the years, I first started in food and beverage, mostly working the bars, back over at Spinnaker with Trish and Tracy, and went down to the cellars, did cellar work, and then into administration where I am today. Constantly doing something new and learning something new in admin, whether it's, accounts, gaming, tills, look after all the tills. So it's very busy. Fondest memories, there's been plenty of interesting Christmas parties over the years with all the different staff that have come and gone. There's always a few people's legs to pull here and there in the place still today, and pull a few pranks when you can, so classic stitch up occasionally, as they say now.
So many relationships have been formed at the Sailing Club, including so many people have met each other, got married.
Yeah.
And also I actually met one of my best mates here too. I remember first walking into the office downstairs and looking over to my right and seeing the girl Jackie there, and she ended up being one of my bridesmaids. So there's so many, it's awesome because I love working here because there's so many different departments you can work in and move up to, and also so many friendships that you can make over the years.
it's a really good working environment to be in too.
I started off in the kitchens as a kitchen hand, and when we started 7 days a week clubhouse and bought crackers, I went into the cellars and stores, and from there was given an opportunity to go into management and administration.
It was actually unplanned. I just moved back from overseas, 5 years overseas, and I was like, I'm just going to do a year or two and then I'm going to leave again. But nearly 5 years on and I'm still here, so yeah, obviously I'm enjoying it, and I've just bought a house here, so it doesn't look like I'm going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, that's sort of all I've ever done all my life is in hospitality. I started from the bottom up many years ago, cleaning toilets first and just moved myself up. I just love hospitality.
Butto lets me know exactly what he's doing, when and why, and does a very good job at it. I couldn't think of anybody the club can trust more to get the boats on the water.
The whole Pinefest experience was awesome, and just spending weekend after weekend at the club doing the Pinefest was probably one of the best experiences of my life. Like, I got to know a lot of the locals and a lot of the regulars as well, which was awesome. And yeah, one of my favourite Pinefest, what was it? Pinefest. One of my favourite Pinefest events was when we were down sailing. So we did some sailing after a fun run, and that was really fun. We could see everyone was enjoying themselves that day.
I've worked with a lot of staff, a lot have come and a lot have gone. I really enjoyed around Easter time when we used to have the bowls. Easter Carnival, we had a lot of good staff working. I enjoyed working with all of the staff.
I started with the club in 2012, started 2013, so just over 4 years. I originally started at Clubhouse, just as a front of house staff member, and then I became a supervisor and then a duty manager, and now for the last year and a half I've been over at Spinnaker as duty manager.
Well, I've been in the sport for about 3 or 4 years. I've been to 2 nationals, and yeah, I got in the top half of the fleet, or come 13th, and I was pretty happy with that because I was sailing against people who have been sailing for a long time, and obviously got their skills right up, so I was really happy with that. And because I'm sort of very enthusiastic with the sport, I train a bit, so that always helps. But yeah, it suits me because you get on the water and have a good time while you're mixing with a lot of really good people.
I used to like going away with the sabos. In them days, sabos were big, so we used to go to places like Port Curtis and Gladstone quite regularly. And then with the nationals, we've been all over the eastern part of the country, down as far as Hobart. We also did a Launceston one, Melbourne. They've been north to Cairns, and Ben's been on his own to a Taser Worlds or something in Darwin. So yeah, we've got about, and one ex-Commodore did a road trip over to Perth, towing a 420 a little while ago.
The Sailing Club sent away a regional team for teams racing, and yeah, we sent away some of our local sailors from KBSC, and we were able to take away the championship win. And I don't know, I guess there's been plenty of proud moments representing the club, but that one stands out because I was in a team of my mates from Keppel Bay Sailing Club, and we just had a great time down at Brisbane, and were able to take out the championship. So that was a really great experience, and one that I'm super proud of.
Many stories from regattas.
Some you can't tell.
Yeah, well, you tend to get up to a little bit of mischief. as a young teenager travelling away to regattas with all your mates, but you know, I turned out alright. I didn't get too badly corrupted by all the sailors, but I've made so many good friends through travelling to regattas, and it's really cool because like wherever you go in Australia, any comp that you go to, like you always know somebody. You're never anywhere where you don't know a sailor.
As a kid sailing here, the best regattas were where, you know, we would put 6 or 7 sabos on the big club trailer, and you know, all the kids would go in one car with one adult, would travel away for the weekend, camping, or would all stay in the one hotel room, and you know, would participate in an event, whether it's at Lake Catharaba or Royal Queensland Yacht Squadron, Bundaberg. There was lots of different events. And then, you know, we'd all spend pretty much the whole weekend together with your friends. That was sort of the best experiences growing up in the junior classes. Moving into the youth classes in the 420, you know, the national championships and the Australian Youth National Championships were always the highlight of the year. You know, getting to participate against all of the other youth sailors from around the country in lots of different classes. So you could see all the sailors in the 420s, all the sailors in the 29ers, the lasers, the windsurfers, the catamarans. It was a really good experience to see what else was out there, and we met lots of really good friends from all around the country that Josh and I are both still in contact with, you know, for different reasons, or we run into each other at different events, we stay at different people's places, and that youth experience was really fantastic.
And you're involved in Camping Champs every year, so do you want to tell us a bit about Camping Champs?
That's just a fantastic event to see so many of our youth sailors come from all over Queensland and even New South Wales to join to do some training with some of the best coaches that we have in the country, and then to compete into a regatta afterwards. To see over 100 of our youth gather here at Yeppoon is just a fantastic thing to witness and be a part of and organising.
I remember some of the first club sabos were donated by local companies. I remember the names of, and they carried the company names on the sabos, and one couple I can remember was Ampol and Redleaf. I think Redleaf was some company in Rocky. There's a couple others, about probably 4 or 5 boats. Yeah, we just sailed in local competition. We sailed in Maroochydore, Noosa, Gladstone, Bundaberg.
My highlights would have to be the teams racing. I used to love the teams racing. I think what I liked about it was that everyone was in the same standard boats, that, you know, there was no boats that were worth so much more than others. It was fun. I was one of the loudest out on the course, so usually we had 3 boats against 3 boats, and most of the time I was usually with a team of boys. So I remember getting out on the course and I could hear other teams going, oh, I've got her, she's the only girl on the team, she's going to be crap, we'll knock her out first. And then meanwhile I've got the other 2 boats are off on first and second, and I get out of these situations and put up protests, and boats doing circles everywhere down the rest of the course, and here we are, first, second, third.
So they thought the girl would be the weakest link?
Yep, and they thought wrong.
The highlights, I think some of the highlights probably were mainly the regattas I went to. That was from a sailing perspective. The involvement with other clubs and members from other clubs, the friendships that were made. I've still got some of those friendships now. I can still ring people up and we can talk about things that went on and you know, ask advice and everything else. And that was in this area as far as the club, and dinghy sailing as far as the kids. I didn't do a lot of dinghy sailing. As I said, spent most of my time over at CCYC sailing and did a lot of cruising after a few races. Did a number of Brisbane to Gladstones. I did a Brisbane New Mere. I did 2 Darwin Airborne races, and yeah, a few delivery trips, mucked around doing that sort of stuff.
I wish the happy 60th anniversary to the Keppel Bay Sailing Club, and remember all the memories we had and all the fun we've had at the Keppel Bay Sailing Club, and hope there's many more.
I would. I feel really bad that I'm not going to be here for the 60th anniversary. Unfortunately, I entered into a commitment that I now am not in a position to cancel. I certainly hope that everyone enjoys the weekend. I hope that everyone takes a sense of pride in that an organisation that started with a group of men meeting to decide they wanted to form a club, and look how far in 60 years it's come to a organisation that can operate 3 businesses, that we're a major employer within the town, we're a major economic contributor to the area, are truly things that the club has a right to be really proud of, as well as the tremendous sales that this club has been able to produce over that 60 years.
If you, whilst you're away.
Yeah, rightio. Well, hi to everybody that's present on the 60th, and I wish you all the best in life, and hope you have a wonderful day on the occasion. Yeah.
But we are probably one of the best sailing clubs in Queensland, and if not in Australia. Just the way we support our sailors and the opportunities here to lead on to bigger and better things, especially Olympics. And that's one goal that I have got, is to see if we can't get.
Yeah, congratulations to the Keppel Bay Sailing Club, to all the life members and people that have been involved over a long number of time. The sailing club's been a huge part of my life, and as it has been for many others. And a big congratulations to everybody involved, in the past and present and into the future, and we hope that it gets bigger and better.
So for all those people that have built the club up over the last 60 years, I really appreciate that, and they've done a wonderful job, particularly life members and other people in the club that have helped build the club.
Congratulations, Keppel Bay Sailing Club, and especially those people who started it off and put in all that hard effort in the early days to get where we are now. We are up and flying, and it's congratulations to them and congratulations to the club.
60, yeah, well I'm almost 60, so there's still a lot of youth yet in us to go, and look forward to the next number of years to come.
I know, I'm very proud to be part of the club, and I wish Keppel Bay Sailing Club a very happy 60th anniversary, and I'm sure it's going to be a great weekend and a great year.
Yeah, just enjoy yourself, have a good time. The club's here to be enjoyed. Enjoy it. That's all I'd say. Yeah, hope you all have a great time.
Yeah, to all the members that have been coming to the club for as long as I have, or even longer, have a good weekend. Enjoy what we're here to provide, the views, the drinks, and have a good time. And congratulations to all the life members that are here with us today. It's all about you guys as well as all the sailing members. Thanks.
Happy 60th anniversary, Keppel Bay Sailing Club. I know I'm privileged and excited to be part of this whole weekend.
Yeah, happy 60th Keppel Bay Sailing Club, and I look forward to being here for the 70th as well.
Well, the club is so important. I always have done. I've been there. I've been with the club, as I say, from its conception through its birth, infancy, childhood, teenager, and now it's an adult.
Yeah.
And so I've seen it right through, and I'm very proud of it, and the whole thing. I still am, always will be.
Yeah.